Now, of course, whoever President Trump picks as a running mate will be the best running mate, the best choice. I'm all in. Whoever he picks, I don't even care who it is. If President Trump decides that, then I go with that and I will support it 100%. But, of course, it's still early days. It's going to be sometime maybe in May or June, July even. Right now, I have two people that I want to talk about that are on my short list to be running mate for Trump 2024. So, yeah, listen to the whole thing and then write in comments what your views are about these two. Thank you.
Dracarys.
The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. If you want freedom, take pride in your country. And if you want peace, love your nation.
Hey, it's me, and welcome to this video. I want to talk about the possible running mate for President Trump. Nikki Haley, as you know, is completely not being considered. Ron DeSantis obviously cannot be considered at all. Of course, Chris Christie and even Vivek are not being considered, even though Vivek might get some kind of a position in the administration if it comes to that. But I'm looking at my short list, and I'm not a big fan of having a woman as VP in this time, for identity politics. And, the left is really pushing a narrative and policies that are anti-women. It would be great to have a normal conservative woman like Kristi Noem or Carrie Lake. But I just feel like we need a team that is not about identity politics. And even if I mention Dr. Ben Carson, it's not because he's black. It's because he's wise, because he's spiritual, because he really understands the concept and the vision that President Trump has for America. He's laid back in the sense of not being somebody who is easily shaken and stirred. He is solid, and that's what you need. He's also very loyal. We're not talking about a backstabbing person. He's Christian, and of course, you know that Dr. Ben Carson is highly intelligent. And if you can do brain surgery, then you can also put together teams and get stuff done, right, as a VP. And it doesn't even matter if he doesn't have experience in Congress. In fact, it's a bonus. Anyway, as you can see with Kamala Harris, the VP extra vote in the Senate, it's like a rubber stamp. You don't need to be a brainiac. You see that with Kamala Harris, right? She is completely dumb, but she's there as a VP. But I'm talking about having a VP that can put together teams. And that's why also Coach Tuberville is in my short list. He's also a person that can make people work together and approach the issue from a position of strength and using a lot of common sense, and Tuberville is one of ours, right? And that is also a great ticket. Just imagine it, Trump, Tuberville, the coach, and the MAGA king. Or if you look at Dr. Ben Carson and President Trump, it's, the MAGA king and the brain surgeon. I mean, it's almost like, maybe America is in such trouble that it's like a failing brain and we need brain surgery. But when I look at, for example, Trump Carson, I'm looking at a division. Of course, President Trump does the heavy lifting. It's all about MAGA, and he knows what to do, right? He's tireless, and he will pick the right people. Even though, in the swamp it's hard to find people that are reliable. There's always going to be bad apples or people that become bad apples. And you saw that, of course, with the last administration. But now you're going to have people that are really solid, because these fascists, they're going to be so upset when President Trump's back in the White House. They'll do a mutiny, a rebellion, a real insurrection. And God knows what else they have planned. But we're talking about President Trump being very tough and strong. doing the policies, but then having a VP who's also looking at the spiritual side, the love that is America first, putting America's first, and the love for our country, the love that we have for each other. It's very important, to have that balance. It's not just about retribution, it's also about love, bringing people back together and lifting up all Americans. America first is not about race or religion. It is about putting all Americans first, putting our country first. It's very simple, but a lot of people out there really try to divide us based on everything. It's called community organizing. That's what Barack Obama did, and that's what is continuing to this day, right? Dividing us on race, income, religion, gender, whatever it may be. Divide, divide, divide. Because that way they can seize control, right? And that's also why they open the borders and cause the chaos, so that they can become the rulers, right? And that's why they're also going against the Constitution, going against God, in fact, because they want to be the supreme rulers of everything. And it will not happen, of course. So when I'm talking about Ben Carson, I'm thinking about somebody who is bringing balance. He's also somebody who can really get to the heart of some of the issues and really work, for those parts of America that are forgotten. It doesn't even matter if it's about blacks or if it's about our veterans or, the forgotten men and women. We have so many problems. But also as VP, he can also let America know, what the vision really is. President Trump is a great communicator. But maybe for people on the left or people in the middle that are stuck with a Trump presidency and they're told to hate it and to rebel against it, well, there you have a voice of reason in Dr. Ben Carson. And that's a person that people will listen to. And that is very important, I feel. If you're going to really run a country, you got to unite as many people as possible without compromising your ideals, your vision, and your policies. Now, of course, when it comes to Coach Tuberville, he's a real badass. I mean, this guy is really good. But he also has shown that he's able to bring people from different backgrounds together as a team. And he has that mentality of a coach. And so I'm looking at him also to be kind of like a mini Trump. Meaning Trump can do so much every day. But if you have somebody that can even do much more, and that would be Coach Tuberville, that would be amazing. But then, I know the left, of course, will say, hey, look, 2 white men, right? And that doesn't look like America. I know. And so I'm not into identity politics, but they are. And we're talking about a lot of people. And so it's kind of like an issue. We had Pence with President Trump, and it wasn't really an issue then, but you have Pence being there as the Christian, so-called, and turns out he was Judas Pence, right? A complete scumbag. And it didn't help, right? But I'm thinking if you pick somebody, just to pick somebody that's a different color or a different gender, that's playing into the left. But if you pick somebody who's really good, like Coach Tuberville, it doesn't even matter if it's 2 white people or 2 black people. To me, it doesn't matter. But like I said, to almost everybody else, especially on the left, it matters. And so be it, right? And so that is kind of like in the minus column, I would say. And not because it's part of Tuberville or what he can bring to the table. It's just the environment. And the parts of Dr. Ben Carson that could go into the minus column is that, he's very calm. Maybe too calm. And politics is very rough. Now, VP is largely absent or invisible in many ways. You can see that with Kamala Harris. But, you do need somebody with a lot of energy and drive. And maybe Dr. Ben Carson has it, or enough to do stuff as a VP. And the other side is, does he have experience in dealing with a lot of big issues and teams, like financial stuff? I'm not talking about general accounting. I'm talking about the big stuff like the treasury, the debt, working on big infrastructure bills or the like. Would he even be interested in that? Of course, he's capable in terms of intelligence, but he's not like a policy wonk, but like, is that a good thing? Like a policy wonk, like Paul Ryan? No, you also don't want that, right? But I'm thinking, okay, maybe President Trump does need somebody who's like a counterbalance. So it's very interesting because my two picks on the short list, Coach Tuberville and Dr. Ben Carson, they're the same but different. Whereas Tuberville would more be like I said, like Trump and then a mini Trump. It's like two ballers or brawlers. Whereas Carson would be like a counterbalance. You have the toughness, the high energy, and most of the heavy lifting. That would be Trump. But then you have the spiritual side and the counterbalance and, all the loose ends that you would have. Things that President Trump cannot focus on simply because there's so much to solve. And then in comes Dr. Ben Carson. It's almost like a healing effect. It's kind of, like surgery in a way. That President Trump would have to use a sword instead of a scalpel for some of the surgery. A lot of slashing and stabbing. Part of retribution. And also getting things done. But then you can have Dr. Ben Carson come in as a healer, right? And to apply some anesthetic or a calming effect, right? Whereas with President Trump, he would be out there kicking butts and taking names. And then Tuberville comes in and he does some more of it, right? Like a tag team, almost. And finally, the other point, campaigning, it's basically Trump, right? You don't really need the running mate so much. And then you have the actual presidency, which I kind of talked about. But then also 2028, President Trump has one term left. So, sometimes you think, okay, a VP is going to be the person that will be president, or God forbid, if something happens to President Trump, who would make a better president, Coach Tuberville or Dr. Ben Carson. And I think both of them would be amazing presidents, in their own way. And I don't know if they're ambitious like that. Maybe Tuberville could be ambitious like that. I mean, he's a coach. He's interested in winning, just like President Trump, right? His life has been about winning. And we need a winner who also understands the Trump vision and is not like a swamper. Tuberville is just a recent new senator. He hasn't been compromised yet. And he's shown with some of his actions this year and last year that he's not afraid of the media. He's not afraid even of the Pentagon. The guy has brass balls, just like President Trump. And Dr. Ben Carson as president would be very calm. Will he be tough enough to be president, to handle all the swampers and the backstabbing? That I'm not too sure about, to be honest. And then you would have an overbearing running mate, kind of like how W. Bush was president, but it was actually Dick Cheney doing everything. And it would end up being a situation like that. And then the swamp would just take over, or the Rhino GOP. That's kind of like, in the minus column. But then again, if Trump is not there, do we even have a future left? Yeah, I really don't think anybody else but Trump can win against the evils of the swamp, the establishment, the globalists. And even Tuberville would have a tough time. Look, he's not a billionaire like President Trump. He hasn't been forged in fire, except, on the fields of sports. But, in politics, it's pretty tough. I happen to think after President Trump's term, we better be in a very good spot with a lot of transformations, or everything's just going to fall back. And there's not going to be a Trump to save us then. And then we're in big trouble. And so I do have to add something about having a female VP. A VP, to be honest, normally is not doing that much, as I mentioned before. But if you get a female VP just because you can't stand the left attacking women as they do, with the trans and everything else, that you want to put a woman up there to show, hey, we're for women. But there's other ways of doing that. There are positions in the administration that are much, much more effective and powerful for women to fill. Not just one woman as VP for the image or identity politics, but I'm talking about having real teams of conservative women that are going to protect women and women's sports and everything else. And I think that would be more effective. Now, for the image, of course, you don't have that. But I think if you're interested in image, just image of a campaign and the election, if you see a picture there of Dr. Ben Carson and President Trump, two, handsome guys, both very intelligent, both very wise, and they have their unique skill sets and way of communicating, it's very powerful. I mean, that is a powerful, powerful image if you're into that. And I happen to believe, I'm kind of coming from a loyalty point of view. I mean, Tuberville is one of ours, right? So in a way, you see somebody who came from NYC, really, or Queens, and I still consider President Trump somebody from the Northeast, really. And, he, of course, connects in the South. He connects with the farmers and all across the USA, right? But I still want there to be someone there that's one of ours, right? And not somebody who's compromised like Speaker Johnson or some of these other pukes that you have in the House or the Senate. I want one of ours up there. And I think that also represents America. When it comes down to gender, let's say it's 50-50, right? Female, male. When you're talking about race, it's a different calculation. It's mostly white Americans, 70%, let's say. Or even if it's less than that, it's the vast majority, right? Black people and Hispanics are like 13% each, something like that. And as I mentioned, when you're talking about gender, it's 50% male, 50% female, more or less, okay? And yeah, I'm talking about two genders, but I have to be sexist in a way by explaining my point of view. And I'm okay with it, because I feel I'm being a gentleman. Because we're in a war. This is a war. It's a very dirty game. You saw what they did to Sarah Palin. Imagine what they would do to Carrie Lake or Christine Ullman. I know, maybe they can handle it. But maybe you also have to understand they have to look out for their own families. And like I said, not everybody's a billionaire. Not everybody has the fortitude to really handle it. Sometimes people don't understand the pressure. Even look at Ron DeSantis. He was all like eager beaver going into this primary season. But look at him now. I mean, this guy's disintegrating, and he's supposed to be like a strong guy or something, right? I never thought so, but people have that image. What I'm saying is that, you know, this dirty game, it's a war. Especially now we're dealing with fascists, hardcore communists. These people will stop at nothing. So if you have a female VP, you know, for them, that's a huge target. And we already have a war on women out there. I mean, they really hate women. But then you're giving them a soft target. You know, like, here you go, shoot at this person. You see, I don't like that. I don't want that. I prefer to look at it like, you know, it's combat. And we're going to take care of business and the war. And of course, in the administration, you're going to have lots of powerful women doing a lot of stuff. And behold, right, it's going to be amazing. But when it comes to a VP, first of all, a VP, like I said, doesn't really do that much. But the benefits would not outweigh the damage that would be done to that person. And I don't want that. You know, and I think a lot of women actually don't mind to have real leaders that take care of business, especially when a lot of heavy work has to be done. Then do that. I mean, I cannot even count how many times a girl asked me, fix this, fix that. You know, can you do this and can you do that? Or if there's, you know, some loser out there, take care of him, right? Whatever it takes. You see, women like a man that is smart and in charge and can do stuff, deliver stuff. And then women can take care of the rest or work in peace and deliver amazing things without being shot at, is what I'm saying. And, okay, call it sexist. And I'm just talking about a VP spot, right? So if you have a Secretary of State as a female or whatever other position, even Attorney General, I don't mind. You know, I'm talking about just that VP spot, campaigning, the presidency. It would be brutal. And I don't want that.